So many of you guys were impacted by this conversation on my last video about the fine line between mental illness and psychic abilities. So I wanted to continue this conversation and talk more in depth about things that we might be seeing with mental health and with psychic abilities. You all know from hearing me talk about it that shadow is the unconscious, which means that every moment of our life, we are burying things in the unconscious, information that we don't need to hold on to, information that might be traumatic or hurtful. It all gets pressed down into the unconscious mind. And what we refer to as shadow work is the process of going into that unconscious mind to excavate that stuff and heal from it. When we're kids and our psychic abilities are very strong, we tend to have experiences that get pushed down into that unconscious mind. And what we also see is that a lot of kids start to lose their natural gifts. Not that they're gone, it's just that they are also being buried and repressed. I think the two might have something to do with each other. Like as we start to feel like our magic isn't real, and as we start to have experiences that are heavier and a little bit more traumatizing in some ways, some big T traumas, some little T traumas, all that stuff gets pushed into the unconscious where it's still available, just harder to access. When we do shadow work, what we're doing is we're pulling that stuff up to heal so we can go back to those moments in our childhood and reestablish neural pathways that help support us in our psychic gifts instead of fighting against them. And when we do this, we can reactivate the gifts that we already have. Like we have that soul remembrance of what we already know to be true. And when we don't do that, we just keep information buried within the unconscious mind, what happens is that we tend to have more types of mental illness. Things like anxiety, depression, different personality disorders. It's like we get stuck in that loop of mental illness. It might be fear that keeps us there because the fear of changing, the fear of doing something new, the fear of revisiting moments from our past can be very overwhelming for the body, for the mind, for the energy. And so just keeping the status quo and potentially making depression or anxiety worse, or even a different kind of mental illness, making it worse, could be something that occurs. But I also find throughout my work as a licensed therapist and the work that I do now with shadow work, that when we go into the unconscious and we heal from those moments, we can really make our natural gifts strong and also lead with love with them so that it doesn't feel like they're overwhelming us or making us feel out of control or crazy. I would love to hear your thoughts about this topic. Let's keep this conversation going below.